Hello, my darklings. All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another review of a pot and a title from the Vinegar Syndrome library. For those that are unaware somehow, Vinegar Syndrome, they partner with a bunch of labels and they give them spiffy slipcovers. And in this case, we're talking about Limbo, which I don't actually have a copy of with me. Oh, my God. Okay. So, Limbo. From director Tina Krause, SOV baby! Oh, speaking of which, yeah.
Go away. You always come at the worst time.
Limbo. So let's just go ahead and get through the packaging of this one first. Lovely slipcover, nice raised lettering, got a nice gloss to them. All right, so just a lovely slip. Open this sucker up. This is the original artwork for Limbo. Let me just put that in front of my face. There we go. You know, pretty chill. And then, of course, if you open it up, you get the disc as well as the newer art. So pretty standard issue packaging. Got your list of special features, all that jazz. Yeah. 55-minute film from 1999, shot on SVHS. Let's talk about it. So Limbo is an interesting little flick that comes to us courtesy of the fine folks at AGFA. Directed by Tina Krause, who's been acting in no-budget schlock since the mid-90s, Limbo was shot on SVHS, as I mentioned, back in 1999, but was only released in 2004, making its entry into the SOV world a tad late, to put it mildly, and long after, in my opinion anyway, it really would have had any significant impact on that admittedly pretty minor subgenre. Instead, what we have here is sadly a whole lot of cringe.
You can never accept what you really are.
But that cringe is lodged in between a fascinating mix of experimental editing. Is lodged between a fascinating mix of experimental editing, industrial surroundings, and disturbing imagery that almost got me past that cringe. Almost. Let's get the worst out of the way just right off the bat. The cringe acting, that's really what I'm talking about here. The cringe acting just goes on for days, mixed with some edgelord exposition, and it just starts us off in a pretty rough manner. However, that's kind of to be expected in the realm of SOV, and as the rest of the film descends into hell, Krause's interest in shock and experimental imagery keeps our eyes on the screen. Once the meat of the flick gets going, the dialogue is still terrible, but it's mitigated by plenty of morbid imagery that dominates the bulk of the runtime. Unfortunately, Krause seems determined to explain the obvious to her audience, and these moments of exposition really hurt the overall film. Like, it drags that motherfucker down. Especially when it comes to this devil guy over here.
It's a shame, Catherine, that you can never truly accept what you really are.
Yikes. Get a haircut, you damn hippie! One aspect of SOV cinema that can be a little much is the minimalism of locations and setups filmmakers tend to utilize. Frankly, they can be a little boring. Technically, Limbo doesn't have a lot of locations. I think it has like 3, but since it's mostly shot in a massive abandoned factory, that's not much of a hindrance in comparison to other SOV flicks that take place mostly in like a shitty apartment or, an office full of bad lighting. Here we have a highly imaginative use of Tina's surroundings in addition to tons of set deck, costuming, and makeup effects work. It doesn't all look amazing. It's very lo-fi, but considering the budget and of course the standards that we kinda have to apply to most SOV offerings, it's all pretty fucking metal. There's also tons of different setups and concepts baked into this sucker, with faces getting pulled off, Christ imagery, gut pulling, various deformities and creatures, all of which make for the best and most memorable aspects. The camera work is very kinetic, not necessarily in the most controlled manner, but it works within the parameters Krause creates for herself. It's messy, it's gross, it's dirty. Now, you might have noticed I haven't actually described the plot, and that's because it's just really simple. A woman who maybe did a bad thing, not going to spoil it here, journeys through hell. There's more detail than that, but yeah, that's basically it for the plot. It's just an excuse to show off tons of wild, macabre imagery, which is good, because the main plot kind of stinks compared to the onslaught of industrial nightmares that Krause seems far more interested in. I've seen a lot of references to Lynch and Ittenbach, and just... No. I see where that's coming from, but I don't think what we have here is nearly as refined as Lynch, nor as gruesome as Ittenbach. There is a surface level connection to be made, and you can tell that she was a fan of David Lynch. But even something like Inland Empire, while easy to compare with its SOV look and that industrial location connection that gives you a connection to every Lynch work, it's so much more of a well thought out and mindfuck kind of flick. With Lynch, there at least appears to be a plan in place, and that doesn't seem like the case here. I think the big aspect that hurts Limbo for me outside of the acting is that it's really not as befuddling as I was promised. I thought this would be a tough film to decipher, but instead I wound up with something that only took one viewing to really comprehend to the point that is necessary, despite an assortment of confusing plot threads that are tossed in seemingly at random. Limbo is a film that thinks it is far more of a confusing mindfuck than it actually is, because, well, it's just trying too hard to be one. And while I truly did enjoy it, and I think it's worth a watch, maybe even several watches, I would not count myself among those hailing this as some lost SOV masterpiece. A great curiosity? Absolutely. Impressive in its scope? Certainly. But a great film? I just don't think so. And it sucks to say that. It really does. But in the end, if I set aside how impressed I am with what Tina Krause managed to do here, it's just not as incomprehensible, intelligent, or as disturbing as it needs to be in order to reach the heights it's set for itself. Again, that's not me trashing it. I'm by no means trashing this movie. I think it is, just for the movie itself, I think it's absolutely worth picking up. But what really makes it worth picking up is the extras. So let's dig into those real quick. So extras. We get a 27-minute Q&A from 2019's Fantastic Fest with Tina Krause. We got host Annie Choi from Bleeding Skull, who kind of oversells Tina's movie a bit, but also makes a good point that it stands out from other 90s SOV flicks in a pretty positive way. Constructing a Psychological Horror is a 12-minute archival behind-the-scenes doc about the making of Limbo, wherein you get a better idea of what Krause had in mind. It does also tip us off that it's not as smart as it thinks it is, but also that good intentions are there. I hate to be a downer here, but it's obvious listening to Krause talk that she has a way overinflated opinion of what she's managing with Limbo, at least in the moment. As years went on, I feel like she definitely started to see the flaws, as per the commentary. We'll get into that. Answering Machine is a 7-minute short film by Tina Krause that's basically all just two people talking via Answering Machine. And it's actually pretty good. It's a fun little idea that she executed well. Eaten Alive, A Tasteful Revenge is a 35-minute, 27 minutes with credits and outtakes at the end. SOV flick, also from 1999, starring Krause and fellow no-budget horror actress Debbie D, and directed by Gary Whitson, who, shock and awe, is also best known for a whole bunch of zero-budget horror. Horror is in quotations. Horror... I don't know, that you've probably never seen, made for Wave Productions, which is Gary's company. Like a lot of their mail-order-based output, it's mostly an excuse to show some titties. But to be totally honest, and I hate to say this because I feel like I'm betraying Tina Krause and betraying Limbo, it really kind of works. It's skeezy for sure. It's very skeezy. But some of the choices, like the freaking water pistol used as a shrink ray, are just dumb and lo-fi enough to work. I don't want to spoil it, but this might be the most ludicrous cannibalism flick ever. If you like lazy excuses to make vor fetish videos, here you go. Dig in. Just take it. Dig in. Finally, we round things out with a commentary track with Tina Krause and the AGFA gang. They talk about Wave Productions and Tina's frustration with the state of the horror video landscape, her inspiration for Limbo, her first experience with drugs, how to not clean up fake blood, and making the point that no-budget horror doesn't have to mean titty flicks, and combating the idea that female directors can't be taken seriously. It's a good commentary, even if I wish there was more time for Tina to get into more scene-specific explanations in between laughing fits and talks about pigeons. So, some tidbits from the commentary. This is an x-ray of Tina's actual broken hand. Tina was living in an old tobacco factory during filming, and this is also where they shot a large amount of the film. Tina's younger sister plays one of our leads, and she's actually pretty good relative to the rest of the cast. I'm going to say right now, she's the best actor in the film. So, Tina, good job casting your sister. I don't remember what her name is, but she did a good job. Apparently Tina did scare her off from ever wanting to be an actor, though, so c'est la vie, I guess. Halfway through shooting, Tina lost her 2 lead actors, which, A, that fucking sucks, and B, helps explain all of the apparent randomness added into the film. At one point in the commentary, the film is described as David Lynch meets 9 Inch Nails, and while I wouldn't compare this too closely to Lynch, as I said, I can certainly see where they're coming from aesthetically. Honestly, I'll take that over the kind of movies that Tina was railing against. So yeah, the extras here actually did help me appreciate Limbo more than I did upon my initial viewing. I still find it tough to get past the acting, but damn, between the rapid-fire hellish imagery, nearly non-stop angry energy, and the passion on display, I'm happy to have this in my collection. Like, this is pretty good shit overall, even if the film as a whole does fall a little short. This is a your mileage may vary kind of flick. A lot of SOV movies can be very boring, and this is definitely not boring. It also is 55 minutes, so it goes by pretty fast, but while the acting did hurt it a lot for me, it was really just because I was really grooving with that imagery that it was putting forward, and then it just stopped every time, and it just took me out of the film. If it wasn't for those scenes, if you had replaced them with more hellish imagery, maybe tried something that was more visual storytelling for those segments, instead of just trying to explain it through very, very poorly written and very poorly acted dialogue, I think that this would be like a 4-star movie for me. I wound up giving it 2.5 on Letterboxd. I would probably... There's a good chance that if I watched it again without the commentary just by itself, I'd probably give it a 3. Not that star ratings really mean that much, but just to give you a relative idea of how I felt about it. So it is definitely, it's a film that I think my opinion will evolve over time. I just, in this initial viewing, not too big on it. But as an overall package, great job, AGFA. You did an amazing job putting this together. And Tina, you're probably not watching this, but bravo on getting this done and proving your point. I really hope you do make another one, because if there was any justice in the world, Limbo would be the solid freshman effort that led to an illustrious and perhaps even baffling career. So you mentioned Limbo 2 in the commentary as being an actual possibility. I don't know if you were joking or not, but fuck, I really, really hope that happens. Okay, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I am trying to do a video a day all month in April. If I make it to 6,000 subscribers by the end of April, then I will be continuing this trend into May. So subscribe and like and ring the little bell thing, whatever. Join the Patreon if you just really like my voice. And until next time, guys, go watch a movie.